Down a set. Down a set against a player who, less than a full day earlier, had walked onto a Wimbledon court and beaten Serena Williams. That is the moment we need to sit in for a second before we go any further, because that is exactly where Alex EALA found herself on court 3 at Wimbledon, staring down Maya Joint, a 19-year-old riding the biggest win of her career, with a crowd of Filipino fans waving flags and holding their breath, hoping their girl could somehow find a way back into this match. And what happened next is the reason we are all talking about her this week, because Alex EALA did not just win a tennis match. She delivered one of those performances that makes you sit up and pay attention, the kind of comeback that tells you everything about who a player really is when things are not going her way. So let's rewind and walk through exactly how this unfolded, because the story of this match only makes sense once you understand what EALA was actually up against. Maya Joint was not some easy early round opponent you forget about a week later. 24 hours before stepping onto the court with EALA, she had done something remarkable. She beat Serena Williams. Not a faded, out-of-shape Serena either, but a 23-time Grand Slam champion who had come out of retirement specifically for a run at Wimbledon, playing in front of a center court crowd that had been buzzing about her return all week. Joint took that match in 3 tight sets, and she did it with poise, not panic. So when she walked out to face EALA the very next day, she was not just confident. She was floating on the kind of high that only comes from beating a legend on the biggest stage in tennis. And it showed immediately. From the very first game, Joint set the tone. She broke EALA's serve right out of the gate and never eased off the gas. Her forehand was clean, her smashes were landing, and she was moving around the court like someone who had nothing to lose and everything to prove. The Filipino fans in the stands were cheering as loud as they could, trying to will their girl into the match, but for that entire first set, Joint was simply the better player. She was sharper, more aggressive, and more in control of every exchange. She closed out the set 6-3, and just like that, EALA was down a set on the very same court, against a version of Maya Joint that looked unstoppable. Now here's the part that makes this story so much more interesting than a simple underdog tale. EALA did not have some easy road back. Joint did not fold or get nervous. She kept playing well. She handled the occasion beautifully, carrying every ounce of that Serena Williams momentum straight into this match, and she made EALA fight for every single point in that opening set. EALA said as much afterward, admitting flat out that Joint came out on fire, that she had expected a tough battle given what Joint had just accomplished, and that she genuinely respected how well her opponent handled a moment that could have overwhelmed a lot of players. That kind of honesty matters here because it tells you EALA was not making excuses or waiting for her opponent to collapse. She knew she had to be the one to change things. And that's exactly what she did. Something shifted the moment the second set began. The net game that had been almost invisible in the first set suddenly reappeared, and EALA started attacking. She began picking her moments to charge forward, mixing in serve and volley combinations that completely disrupted whatever rhythm Joint had built. On the slick grass at Wimbledon, that kind of tactical shift can be devastating if you execute it well, and EALA executed it beautifully. She tightened up her own game, cut down on unforced errors, and slowly, but surely, you could feel the entire match tilting in her direction. Joint, who had looked so composed just an hour earlier, started showing cracks. The frustration crept in. The errors that had been EALA's problem in set 1 became Joint's problem in set 2. And when the dust settled, EALA had taken the second set 6-2, flipping the entire complexion of the match. But what came next is the part nobody saw coming, not even the most optimistic fan in that crowd. The third set was not just good for EALA. It was a demolition. 6-0. A complete bagel, delivered in the deciding set of a Wimbledon second-round match, against a player who less than 24 hours earlier had taken down one of the greatest athletes to ever pick up a racket. Joint had no answers left. Every ball EALA hit seemed to land exactly where she wanted it. Every point felt inevitable. The same aggression and confidence that carried Joint through set 1 had completely evaporated, replaced by mounting errors and a visible sense that the match had slipped entirely out of her hands. And EALA, for her part, looked untouchable, playing with a kind of clean, ruthless efficiency that you only see when someone has fully locked in. When the moment arrived to finish the match, she did it in a way that has become something of a signature for her. Back-to-back aces. The exact same way she closed out a match against Donna Vekic in Berlin just a few weeks earlier. When the pressure is highest and the stakes are at their peak, EALA does not shy away. She goes for it. She trusts her serve, and more often than not, it delivers exactly when she needs it to. The moment those aces landed, Court 3 exploded. Flags were waving everywhere. The Filipino fans in attendance were on their feet screaming, and Alex EALA stood there having just etched her name into tennis history. She became the first Filipina ever, in the entire history of the championships, to reach the third round at Wimbledon. Sit with that for a second, because this is not a small footnote. This is a nation's first, achieved on one of the biggest stages the sport has to offer, and achieved after clawing back from a set down against a player who had just beaten Serena Williams. And as if that were not enough for one single day, EALA was not even done. She turned right around and took the court again for her first-round doubles match, teaming up with Nikola Bardamkova to face the 8th-seeded pairing of Yelena Ostapenko and Sofia Kenin. More match. She is not just surviving this tournament. She is thriving in it, match after match, raising her level evermore. She talked about having to dig deep, Pliskova in straight sets in barely over an hour on Center DS EALA's game.